This is Lloyd Cole talking to Rabbi Sol Solomon on Dave's Gone By on UNC Radio.
Shalom, shalom, my friends. This is Rabbi Sol Solomon, and I am excited and thrilled to be talking to a brilliant musician, a singer-songwriter. He's been with us for many years now, and many more to come, and he will be in Denver, Colorado, at the Swallow Hill Music Place. What a strange name for a place to see music, but that is this Sunday. That's tomorrow. So everybody go see the wonderful Lloyd Cole. But before you do, let us talk to him here in the neighborhood. Shalom, Lloyd.
Shalom, Rabbi.
Oh, so good to... So Lloyd, I know you're not even remotely close to being Jewish, but do you have a Hebrew name?
No, Lloyd is a Welsh name.
Welsh name, okay. Well, I'm surprised there aren't like 12 L's and 4,000 other consonants in there.
There's just, yes, it's actually, if you're in Wales, my name is Lloyd.
Really? That's almost like what we do with the ch sound. So can I call you Lloyd?
You can absolutely. If LL Cool J was in Wales, he would be Cool J.
So this is going to be a spontaneous conversation. I'm thrilled about this. So first of all, I also want to say a very happy belated birthday to you. That was last week, right?
I'm not sure if I need reminding. I'm 54 years old now, but thank you anyway.
Hey, it's not like I'm a young spring chicken either, let me tell you. But how did you celebrate your birthday, Lloyd Cole?
My wife made a lovely chili, and I had some cupcakes, and I tried to do as little as possible. I watched quite a lot of soccer on TV.
What is it about soccer that you people like? What? I don't get it. Maybe it's...
Oh, well,
yeah, tell me.
Didn't grow up with it. You know, if I'd have grown up with American football, maybe I wouldn't be so darn bored with it. I think it's, you know, when you grow up with a game, you know the idiosyncrasies, the minutiae makes sense. If you don't grow up with soccer, sure, I'm sure it's going to look boring.
But here's the other...
You can watch people play darts and enjoy it, if you know enough about darts, I guess. But,
or golf.
Yeah, I think it's the minutiae, and you know, I like soccer, and the only American sport that I've embraced is baseball. And you know, you hear a lot of people talking negatively about soccer. They hear going, they can have a 0-0 tie at the end. You know, it's boring, but isn't the most exciting baseball game a shutout?
A shutout, yes, but 0-0, well, it's fun if the game goes on and on and on when you're 0-0 in baseball. It's going to end. Somebody's going to win.
But in soccer, you can have an amazing game without any goals. You know, so I grew up playing it, and I still enjoy watching it. I mean, every now and again you'll have a rotten game, but every now and again you'll have a rotten game of any sport.
Well, that's fair. And also, you are a golf kind of sportsman too. You got into that as well, right? My mum and dad took a job at a golf club when I was 13 years old, and I've been playing golf ever since. And hopefully I'm not stopping. I just got something called golfer's elbow, which is not very nice. Oh no! Now see, I have a golfer's handicap. It's called a hernia, but
I've had one of those as well. That's not much fun.
Oh, when did you have a hernia?
About 12 years ago.
Oh, yeah, I'm bonding here with Lloyd. Was it unbelievably horrible?
Yes, it was unbelievably horrible, and they sent me home from the hospital sooner than they should have done. Thanks, health insurance. And yeah, my wife put this little bell by my bed and said, you know, ring the bell if you need more pain. And sure enough, I reached for the bell, knocked it over, and couldn't reach it, and I was just lying there in agony for God knows how long till somebody came in to check on me. It was the most pain I've ever had.
Good Lord. I mean, I'm telling you, I've had the person that you talked to before me, Dave, who hosts this radio program, he had one a few years ago for 2 weeks. He was virtually incapacitated. It was incredible. He couldn't wipe his own tuchus for a couple of days. I'm not kidding. Well, you know this.
Yes, I'm afraid I do.
And how did we get on to this? I'm talking to one of the most brilliant songwriters going, and we're talking about wiping tuchuses and hernias. This is what I get into. So let's talk music, Lloyd Cole. Do you remember, Lloyd Cole, do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
Yes, although I don't remember the name of it. I was in high school, and we had a punk rock cover band. It would have been 1977, and we played a concert at the end of the school year in the gymnasium at school, and we played, I think, 15 cover songs of bands like The Clash and the Sex Pistols, and one song that I'd written.
Oh.
No, I don't believe there's any recording of it, and I believe it was a sort of it was a soppy ballad.
Oh, well, you know, The Last Dance in the Gym. Yeah, you want all the guys and girls to kiss each other. Of course it's going to be a ballad. You know, I mean, that makes sense for slow dancing.
That was it.
Although I wonder how punky you can be in the school gymnasium. That's not really that outrageous. Did you stay punky for a while?
You know, punk rock became a little dull. In fact, there's a group called the Silver Jews who've got a song.
Huh? The Silver Jews, yes.
Yeah, and I forget the actual name of the song, but one of my favorite lyrics ever is "Punk rock died when the first punk said, 'Punk's not dead.'" And punk rock got very boring when people started talking that way about it. So I discovered R&B music in late 1978, and I listened to all kinds of music, but punk rock was very exciting for a little while. To be 16 in 1977 was a lot of fun.
And but did you ever make it to the New York shrines like CBGB's and things like that at a young age?
No, but I did move to New York when I was 27, and I did perform at CBGB's when I was 28. I performed there just once.
Now, when you were doing CBGB,
my bucket list.
I'm sorry? Yeah, that was on your bucket list. I can imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you did CBGB's, were you already you and the kind of I won't say folk rock, but in that genre, or did you have to be more Ramones, Sex Pistols, Blondie, Talking Heads-ish?
You know, I performed there at the time when I probably made what was, for me, the loudest record I made, and it probably was trying to get away from the idea of being thought about being as folk rocky. And so my first solo record, it's got some pretty loud things on it, and we actually performed at CBGB's in a sort of undercover band. We were called the Bob Dylan Band. It was me and a bunch of friends, and we played only Beatles, Dylan, and Rolling Stones songs.
Interesting. So what is your favorite, I might as well ask you, what is your favorite Bob Dylan song?
Well, that's a difficult question. Somebody who's got so many amazing songs. My favorite lyric is probably Highway 61.
Because it's so playful?
Yes, it's just amazingly playful. And if you wanted to ask, what song sort of symbolizes the United States best, I would say Highway 61.
Interesting. And does it still? I mean, it may have represented us back in 1965, but do you think it's still, now that you've lived in America for a couple of decades, does it still?
Yes, I think so. I think that the kind of frontier mentality still exists here, which is summed up very nicely in that song.
So what do you like living here as opposed to living in England or Wales? Did you ever live in Wales, or you're just Welsh?
My father is half Welsh, so I'm a quarter Welsh, and we took summer holidays in Wales, but never actually lived in Wales. What do I like over here? What I like over here is my wife, which is the reason I stayed over here. I went to New York in 1988 with an idea of staying there for maybe 6 months or a year, and I stayed for 11 years. And that was down to meeting my wife and getting married, and now it's my wife and my children.
But you chose to go to Boston instead of back to England or something.
So we're not in Boston. We're sort of, if you go due north of New York until you get sort of level with Boston, we're in western Massachusetts.
Okay.
But we're here. We're here more out of the fact that my kids were already in the education system, and my wife is from a family of 7, and I'm from 7 children, and I'm from a family of 2 children. So the gravity that pulls our family is stronger in this direction, which is probably the only reason we're here.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Now, as a writer and performer, especially having to go sometimes with a band and sometimes yourself with just a guitar, you got to tour a lot, I assume. That's part of especially now, that's really all the business is, because nobody makes any money on CDs anymore. So how long are you away from home, and how do you manage that over the years?
Well, I think how you manage it is that it was already my job when my wife and I met. There was not as much touring in those days, but the touring was probably more intensive. I would be maybe home for 18 months and then away for 6 months. home for a month, away for a month, home for a month, away for a month. So it's all my family's ever known, and frankly, when I'm home for a long period of time, I think I get in the way.
I know the feeling. My darling wife, Miriam Libby, and I have 21 and a half beautiful children. And it's all they can do to get me out of the house, let me tell you.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it's a lot. Yeah. So wonder we even sleep, if you know what I'm saying. So, you've been married for 25 years. Any suggestions? Well, so many celebrities, everybody gets divorced, so many have terrible... What is the secret to your long-lasting marriage?
Well, we love each other.
Well, that helps, but even that isn't enough. Yeah?
Boy, honestly, sometimes I think, how are we still together? I mean, we've had so many ups and downs, but we're still here. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you about the...
I don't think we've got a better alternative.
Nicely put. Nicely. Well, I mean, there's the thing. Did you ever make an agreement, especially when you were younger, with the wife and say, look, when I'm on the road, stuff happens on the road, it doesn't really count? Or you had to be, Mr. Nice Guy all the time?
No such arrangements. No, we just, like any marriage. I mean, my parents have been married 50 years.
Oh,
maybe it's the Welsh thing.
And they're still alive and married?
Yeah.
Mit Mazel Klick, which means congratulations. Oh, that's so you come from that situation of having a stable, long home life. I guess that helps.
Yeah, and I think I don't think I got married thinking I'd like to be married for 5 years or I'd like to be married for 15 years. I think I got married thinking I'd like to be married.
Nice. Very nice. But moving back to music with Lloyd Cole, because I know we don't have a lot of time with you. And by the way, when you have to go, because I know you're getting on a plane to Los Angeles, just say, hey, I really have to wrap it up. I'm sorry. We'll talk more another time. Don't feel rude about it. But I'm going to keep you as long as we can. So another question for Lloyd Cole is that you were asked by an online magazine a year or two or so ago to pick a bunch of albums, your all-time favorite albums, and write about them and say what you loved about them. Have you looked at that article since then, and have you made any changes, any thoughts, any, because you have Michael Hoople and Dylan and Prince and Kraftwerk and Isaac Hayes. Any thoughts on that? Yeah.
No, those, I get asked that darn question at least every month.
Sorry.
And depending on the mood I'm in, my 10 favorite albums last month were probably all Steve Reich albums. Another month, I might be on a sort of a Motley Hoople kick or something. So, no, but the thing that I've found, which I think is interesting, and I think it explains the way a lot of people feel towards music, is that albums that you've been intensely enamored by at key times in your life stay with you. People talk about, they don't care too much for the latest Bruce Springsteen album, but Born to Run came out when I was 15, and I listened to it for the whole year, and that album is really part of my life. And I never stopped loving it. I never stopped loving the David Bowie albums, which came out in the 70s, which was so important to me as a teenager.
Yeah, because you mentioned Diamond Dogs is kind of the important one for you, even though some Bowie albums are better, and that one's a little weird and political and goes in strange places. But that one kind of hit home.
Well, I love all of them, but I think Diamond Dogs is not talked about enough. And I think Diamond Dogs, in terms of the sophistication of the songwriting, is a huge step forward for Bowie at that time. And it's the sort of bridge between early Bowie and later Bowie.
Well, was there a song of yours that you felt made that jump from when you were writing your first punk song to a song that was recognizably like, I've moved ahead in this?
Well, I wrote a song called Are You Ready to Be Heartbroken toward the end of 1983, and halfway through writing that song, I was like, I can do this now.
I have to say, I love that album, and I love my favorite song of yours, and I'm sorry that it's not a brand new one, but it's still my very favorite song, and I want to know how it came about, is Why I Love Country Music. Was that autobiographical, or you thought of characters and this relationship going sour, or what?
Why I Love Country Music is actually the title of a short story by, I think, a woman called Tennant. I've forgotten her first name.
Oh.
The way I work, and certainly to a large extent a magpie when it comes to titles. I mean, I'll see something and I'll write it down in my notebook, and I just thought, wow, that'd be a fantastic idea to write a song around that idea. And I can't even remember if the story itself was set in the sort of desolate feeling of hopelessness within the relationship, but I love the idea that is the function of country music, and it's the function of so much music that is a spiritual music that it helps difficult times, and it's strange that we talk about heartbreak to ease heartbreak, and so
yes.
But very, very, very early in my career, I realized that I've got a lot more in common as a songwriter with a country songwriter rather than the rock and roll songwriters, and that's still the case, I think.
So I can't imagine how many women have been empowered by, like, the line, "A girl needs a gun these days on account of all the rattlesnakes." I mean, you've probably changed a lot of lives in thinking with just that sentence from one of your most popular songs, I think.
Well, I suppose if we're going to kind of put our work out there and hope that it can be embraced, yeah, absolutely. I would say that's a very positive result. I didn't get into music to try and become a bit player.
You've had serious success with your band, The Commotions, but because the major label system is kind of falling apart, you had to be more of an indie artist. Oh, not quite a fringe artist, but admittedly not selling 12 million copies of every album. Have you?
No, I mean, I'm definitely a niche artist. I'm not happy about that, because certainly when I started making music, and for quite a few years in my career, my music was visible to the masses, at least. So that if somebody saw that I had an album out, they would have a chance to hear it. These days, I'm not pushed away into such a corner. Certainly not in all countries either. It's different from country to country. But yeah, you have to keep your eyes open to know what's going on with me. It's not something that if you pick up your newspaper or you turn on your computer, certain music is going to become immediately. What if there's a new Lady Gaga record? You're not going to be able to avoid the fact. Whereas if there's a new album by me, you might miss it unless you pay attention.
But
I'm not entirely happy about that. But I at the same time, I sort of try and be Darwinian about my career. I do what I feel is necessary to try and continue making music.
And that would be how you go about it. Since again, you're not on a major label anymore. So does it mean
we adapt to our environment. Otherwise, we become extinct. So and when I had my first major split from major labels was at the end of the 1990s. That coincided with when I left New York and moved to Massachusetts. I had 2 albums at the time, sort of, as they say, in the can, but sort of with the lawyers as well, so we couldn't bring them out. I didn't want to make any more music until we figured out how to get these albums released. So I learned how to build websites. I learned how to build my own website, and I started to establish an online community, and these people, when I've got concerts, I put it on Facebook these days, and they share it with their friends, and that's free.
Well, yes. I mean, does it bother you sometimes that you have to spend so much time goosing social media and less time just sitting down writing songs and playing them and doing concerts?
It's not. If I organize my day properly, it's not that much time. It's not that I'm on social media interacting with people that much. I put my stuff out there. Every now and again, somebody will reply to me, and I'll notice it, and I'll put a response back to them. But I don't reply to every question that comes to me. I don't have time.
Sure.
But I am there, and I think that the fact that they know it's me does actually mean something to them. Whereas, for a little while, I think I signed up to Leonard Cohen's Facebook page, but it's not Leonard, and it's just a whole bunch of marketing, and it's dull. My page, a whole bunch of it's marketing as well, because me telling people that there's concerts coming up. But every now and again, it's me talking about something that I think is interesting, or thanking the crowd from the previous night who were awesome, as they were in Portland, Seattle, San Francisco the last few nights.
Cool. Now we just have another couple of minutes, I hope, with Lloyd Cole here, and I do also want to ask what.
You need to get a little bit more. You need to get a little more in there.
A little Lloyd Cole.
Yeah. Lloyd. Yeah.
Or I can even go double it. I can go Lloyd Koch, and I put the.
If I was in Spain, I'm Lloyd.
Oh, really? I get it. Yes, Lloyd.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would call you Oyoyoid, since I'm Jewish, but I don't even know what that means. So let me ask, what got you into electronic music? Because other people like Bob Mould really got into that. I guess he still is. What is it about electronica and made you think, oh, I want to pursue that as well?
I'm not quite sure what made me want to make electronic music, but to enjoy listening to it. I very, very early in my teens, I was following David Bowie, following T-Rex and Roxy music, and Brian Eno went off and made this record with Robert Fripp called No Pussyfooting, which is just made with a guitar effects and a tape machine feeding back on itself. And strangely, I listened to it and thought, I really like that. Don't really know why, but I like the sound of that. And then probably Eno is responsible for almost everything. Bowie and Eno. I mean, Bowie introduced me to Kraftwerk by his references to Trans-Europe Express, and Eno worked with Cluster, and I sort of followed the path that they started for, and from Cluster I went and listened to other what we would have called krautrock artists, and then 25, 30, 35 years later I ended up making an album with Rodelius from Cluster. So
well, you've
I
also
enjoy probably the music that I listen to these days doesn't have a lot of singing on it, and a lot of the music that I enjoy listening to is electronic music, and so I found myself writing it.
Now, you've also been, as you said, been listening to a ton of Stephen Reich. Are you going to go the McCartney and Costello way and go classical?
I don't think I'm talented enough musician to go completely classical, but I have worked with orchestrators in the past who've been able to make my songs work with an orchestra. But in terms of making what you would call modern classical music, I think if I did that, it would be more in the sort of minimalist vein of, in
Philip Glass and that's...
that I think I would be done probably without musicians, probably with more with machines. At which point, I think we've got time for maybe one more question. Then I do have to think I have to do the Spinal Tap, but the limo is going to be waiting in just a moment.
Absolutely. One more question with Lloyd Cole, or Lloyd Koch, who will be at Denver Swallow Hill Music tomorrow night, Sunday, February 8th. Let me ask you, you grew up loving albums and really loving the music, the popular music of the day. Have you met any of your idols? Do you have an idol story of someone that you worshipped growing up, and boom, there you are playing with them or meeting with them, etc.?
Not really. Very early on, the Commotions, we were in the house of the photographer that we worked with, and he was also working with one of my biggest idols, who I will not name. And this person was so cynical and so angry about his career. It was very disappointing and depressing, and I have actually actively avoided meeting my heroes. There's another person subsequently deceased who worked with a lot of people that I've worked with, who had a particularly bad reputation, and yet is undoubtedly one of the greatest songwriters that ever lived. So I spent at least, a significant portion of my time when I lived in the West Village avoiding this person because I wanted to continue loving his music.
Are his initials... Well, no, he's deceased. Well, maybe you can tell me off the air as soon as we turn off the tape recorder, because now I'm really curious. But if you're curious to hear Lloyd Cole himself play his songs... Are you with a band or solo on guitar, by the way? I'm
completely solo, just myself.
Solo in Denver tomorrow night. Do not miss him. He's brilliant, he's charming, wonderful songwriter, and also a terrific guest here in the neighborhood. I wish you much more success, much happiness with your family, and terrific music ahead. To you, Lloyd Koch. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Shalom to you.